Sandals approved
I need a
it,
second.
Dave
I'll call
County
it.
approved it, just, we ain't got a word, nobody's come very far back and talk to the city.
Let's come to order. Today is Monday, September the 26th. We're at the Civic Center for a special meeting of the City Council. This is the final public hearing for the Taxing Authority 13005, the City of Mexico Beach, Florida. The millage rate to be adopted is 5.184, which is 7.96% above the rollback rate of 4.8019. Please call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin. Here. Ms. Albrecht.
Here.
Mayor Bailey.
Here.
Mr. Wallace. Here. Mr. Putnam.
Here. The first item on the agenda is the second reading and adoption of Ordinance 646, which is the millage rate. Motion to read Ordinance 646 by title only.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please read Ordinance 646 by title only.
Ordinance 646, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the adoption of the millage rate for the tax year 2016-2017, levying an ad valorem tax of 5.184 mils, $5.184 per $1,000 valuation on all real and personal property within said city, which is not exempt under law for the purpose of providing funds for the ordinary and regular requirements of the City of Mexico Beach for the fiscal year 2016-2017, providing an effective date.
For all of these ordinances, I'm going to do things just a little bit out of order. Before I ask for a motion to adopt this ordinance, I'd like to have discussion first from the table and from any citizen who would like to comment or ask questions about the budget or the millage rate. First, we're talking about the millage rate. Is there any comment from the table? Any comment from the floor? Please come to the microphone. This is a special meeting, so tell us who you are and where you live, please.
Chuck Guilford, 104 Miramar. My question here, you're already getting a tax increase because of the increase in valuation of our properties and so forth. Why are you putting our six garbage people out of work for 3 days to go ahead and hire another truck when they were doing a good job to start with? Have you been around town today? Have you seen any yard debris on the side of the road today? It's all gone, see? Is that the new truck that picked it up, or is our garbage people? Because ones I saw picking it up was our employees that we already have. What's wrong with the plan that we had here? Why increase? Why the millage increase when we're already paying such a high tax already in Mexico Beach as compared to the other communities here and the people that here? Because Mexico Beach is primarily a retirement community. A lot of us older people that live on a fixed income, and you all are elected here to represent the majority of the people of Mexico Beach, and I honestly don't believe you are doing that in raising the millage rate and hiring another garbage truck and putting our 6 people out of work for how many days? 3 days a week, you know? So I really ask you, please reconsider this millage increase, even though you're ready to pop it on right now, because you have not had an open discussion with the majority of the residents of Mexico Beach before all of this has come about, which we need to do that a little more often. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to address your comment. The budget 2 years ago was a millage rate of just over 5. I don't know exactly what the fraction was. Then last year, we moved part of the expense from the general fund to the enterprise funds, and then we rolled the millage rate back to just under 5. This year, what we're talking about doing is taking something out of the sanitation fund and putting it back under the general fund. That's part of the millage increase. The other part of the millage increase that is of any consequence that actually shows up as a need is some maintenance projects that we put into the budget for the first time that we haven't had in other times, which come out of the general fund. As far as open discussion about roadside pickup, it's been an ongoing discussion for 2 decades. The roadside debris right before the holiday was picked up by the contract guy, not our guys. You asked, have I seen any roadside debris in my neighborhood today? Yes, I have. It's all up and down the street because our guys haven't picked it up. We are trying to eliminate a problem that we have in the city with roadside debris by contracting it out to a guy that can do it cheaper than we can do it. As far as what we're going to do with the sanitation workers, that's on the agenda for tomorrow night. And you have a valid question and a valid point, but it's something that has to be discussed. It's going to be discussed in the open. And I think we can save as much as $30,000 to $40,000 in the sanitation fund if we judiciously use these employees where we need them. Ms. Castro.
Tanya Castro, 408 7th Street. I get it. You can't spin it with me. I get it. I understand it. Last year, we were able to lower the millage rate because we discovered that employees whose time and labor and benefits should have been charged, and you know this, Linda, should have been charged to sanitation, were charged to the general fund, and somebody had been playing a shell game with the money because our sanitation fund was in trouble. So we worked for months and months and months. Staff did, the council did a lot of research, and we determined that the only way that we could make our sanitation fund remain whole is to look at ways to make the sanitation fund more efficient. So you're increasing our millage. $94,000 is for the yard waste. What is the amount of the other increase you mentioned on maintenance?
Mr. Hall, perhaps you can help me with that. We've got specific line items in this budget that we haven't had previous budgets for maintenance.
We put in $50,000 to have the dredge pool sandblasted and painted. We added, I think it was $10,000 to the general maintenance fund for repairs and maintenance of some of our buildings. Let's see.
Rentals and leases, instead of putting in each fund, we put it in the general fund in case we need a rental lease.
That's right.
And that was $40,000.
So the bulk of it is the yard waste, the
It's a big piece of
$94,000
it,
for yard
yeah.
waste. So here's what you've done. You've taken something that's always been solid waste in Mexico Beach for decades. It's always fallen under the sanitation fund as solid waste. And it's a service that we all pay for equally. We all pay the same amount for that service, for the collection of that yard waste. I'm not opposed to you guys outsourcing the yard waste. I'm a big proponent of that. But I'm not a proponent of you outsourcing the yard waste and then you raise our millage rate to pay for it instead of taking those funds out of sanitation where the funds have always been designated and where our ordinance says we get yard waste collected for that monthly rate. And so essentially you've raised our millage rate for garbage service is what you're doing. It doesn't make sense to me, first of all, why you're doing it. And then I know it's on the agenda tomorrow night to talk about what you're gonna do with these employees the other 3 days of the week during the off season. Well, you can't just take those employees and let them work on general fund activities and charge it to sanitation. So how are you going to justify that you've charged a rate for sanitation for this many employees and all of these services, but you're not really going to be charging it to sanitation, you're going to charge it to the general fund, because from what I've seen, they're going to be working on canal, parks and rec, other things. You didn't budget anything in the general fund to offset what you're going to be, those expenses, those employee expenses that you're moving to the general fund. So this is just a big old mess. Instead of looking at the sanitation ordinance and saying, you know what, sounds like with the public outcry, there are some people who still want backdoor service, so let's give them the backdoor service and charge them accordingly. And I think Ms. Albrecht had proposed a rate that was pretty much in line with what Waste Pro and everybody else was charging months ago in a budget meeting that I sat through. And let the people who want to continue the backdoor service pay for it Instead, what you've done is you've left the rate the same in sanitation so that we're all still paying for backdoor service whether we want it or not. And the rate that had been there and the rate study that was done to determine that it would also include yard waste, you're just ignoring it. So we're paying for it in the sanitation fund by our rates there because it does include yard waste in the ordinance. And now you're going to add $94,000 to our property bill to pay for a yard waste service, and we're all going to be paying a different amount based on the value of our property. So, and people in condos who don't have yard waste collected, they're going to be paying for yard waste collection as well. So you're doing something that's unfair. It's just really unfair. You're now charging people for a utility service, and you're charging them a rate based on the value of their property. And you're basically increasing our millage rate by $94,000 to make us pay twice for a service we're already paying for in the sanitation ordinance. You know, do it the right way. If people want their backdoor service, let them have it, let them pay for it. But to make everybody pay for backdoor service and then up our millage $94,000 to offset us paying for it twice, it doesn't really make sense. You guys need to take a close look at that, and I strongly encourage you that you don't put that $94,000 in the millage increase. It is a tax increase. You're going well above the rollback rate. So, I don't know. I would strongly encourage you guys not to put yard waste on the property tax bill. It's not a fair way of doing it. And instead, I would rather you go back and look at yard waste more fairly. And if people want the backdoor service, fine, let them pay for it. But don't make everybody pay twice for yard waste, which is essentially what you're doing. Thank you.
Anyone like to comment? I will make one comment. While I am mayor, I will never again support roadside pickup of garbage. I heard it loud and clear. Ms. Logan.
Lisa Logan, 402 Maryland. I have attended every meeting, as you well know. I sat through all the budget meetings, and I find it incomprehensible that you decided on July the 25th in the last budget workshop to do this, to outsource for $92,000 the yard debris. And while there was some discussion among the table and the 6 people, myself being one of the 6 who were there, the rest of the town never had a discussion on this. And I know this for a fact because I have attended every meeting. It was never published on the city website or the city Facebook page that the millage rate was going to go up and why it was going to go up to pay for outsourcing yard debris. There was no notice on the back of the water bill. I can attest to that because I have the water bill. It just says they came to a conclusion. Didn't mention that. So for 9 weeks, that's over 2 months, no one from the city brought this up in any meeting and told anybody about it. And there were 2 attempts to talk about it at 2 different meetings, and you told them that it was not an appropriate time to talk about it, so it wasn't discussed. Now then, this is literally at the last minute because you're going to vote on this tonight, and the majority of people have not been informed of what you are doing and why. I think that you owe it to the people to tell them when you decide to raise the millage rate, how much you're going to raise it, and why you're raising it. I think outsourcing it in this manner is beyond ridiculous, but you don't want to talk about that tonight, so we won't. That's just my personal opinion. And I think the fact that you are doing it in this manner speaks highly of all of you, speaks loudly of all of you, not highly at all. You owe way more than this to the people, and this should have been brought out and discussed more than once in a public meeting. So shame on you. It looks to me like it's a done deal, but it's not the way it should have been done.
Mr. Welly.
As far as notification to the public, every tax bill included the tax increase and the newspaper because the state law requires notification to every single homeowner, and it's been on the website since the 8th of September.
Could you repeat that, please?
It's been on the tax assessment bill, the increase. It's also been in the newspaper because it has to be advertised with strict guidelines. It's also been on the website since September 8th.
Other comments?
Well, I didn't make any of the first two meetings on the tax situation. The only one I made, I think it was the third meeting. And I do respectfully disagree with Lisa, because I did hear it, may not have been a long discussion, but there was a discussion at that meeting about whether this should be accomplished, how it should be done. There's few people here, as there are tonight. What I think this council can't do, unfortunately, I wish we could pick our citizens up by buses and bring them to our meetings, but we can't. I thank every one of you here, and I would encourage each of you to talk to your neighbors and come, because Lisa's right. We can't discuss items like this or get things out like this unless we have citizens come. But unfortunately, we don't have buses to bring them here or force them here. But I do respectfully disagree with you, Lisa, that one meeting I went to, it was discussed that night. That's when I heard about it and understood it. From my personal view, I do think the city hasn't been able to keep up with the garbage in the yards. I've watched it for the past 2 years from my house, and for some reason, whatever it is, we haven't been able to take care of it. I guess the short time I'm here, I question whether we would have the capability, regardless of which fund it comes from, just the capability to keep our city nice and clean the way we would like to see it without doing something, either hiring new people to come in to have that ability and have maybe a new truck. I think the old one stays pretty busy in the garage being worked on. But please, those that are on the TV, come to the meetings so these things can come up and we don't have to get citizens who are angry.
You have an additional comment, Ms. Castro?
I do. Can you explain your comment about you'll never support roadside?
Garbage pickup.
Can you explain that? You mean if people who are willing to bring their trash to the curb, you would never support people bringing their trash to the curb if they want to, and letting those who want the backdoor valet service pay for it? Or what, are you saying that you want everybody to pay for the small group of people who still want the backdoor service? You want us all to pay for their backdoor service? Is that what you're saying?
I will make my comment more clear. We changed to curbside pickup, and I've never seen so many people in this town upset. I got the message loud and clear. They want, you call it valet, backdoor, whatever. One size fits all, leave your trash can at your house, we'll come get it and we'll bring it back. That's what the people want. I support that.
But Mayor, the town hall meeting that you had about trash had 30, 40 people there. That's not a huge outpouring of the city. And the 30 to 40 people, most of them were either vacational owners or out-of-town owners. And I understand why they would want the backdoor service. And I understand why they were upset about that. And I'm not opposed to letting them have the backdoor service. But the people who live here and who keep the lights on 12 the folks that are here, who are willing to pull our trash to the street. We've been doing it, most of us our whole lives. I haven't had backdoor service since I was a child. So instead of you asking, instead of the council asking those people who want the backdoor service to pay for it and give it to them, you're making us all pay for it. Those of us who live here every day and don't have a problem bringing our trash can to the curb. So for you to say you don't support roadside pickup, to me, that's saying that even though the majority of the people, the voters who live here, bring our trash to the street every day. I mean, you heard Bobby Pollock say everybody in his neighborhood does, because we all live here. We don't have a problem bringing our trash to the street. We all have to pay for it. We're all paying to subsidize the handful of people who don't want backdoor service. Now, you have an issue with the people who are in multi-unit dwellings, or those who would have to bring their trash can through their living quarters, and I think Mr. McLaughlin has that on the agenda tomorrow night to talk about that, and that's another issue. But for people who just want backdoor service, why aren't they paying the rate for it? But instead of asking them to pay for the backdoor service, you're asking those of us who live here to pay twice for yard debris. We're paying for it in our sanitation rate, because you didn't change that. When you took the yard debris out and put it on our tax bill, you didn't lower our sanitation rate. You kept it the same, and that sanitation rate has always included the yard debris. So essentially what you're saying, what I'm hearing you say, is that you're for the people who live here full-time subsidizing backdoor service for the 30 or 40 people who don't live here full-time but who showed up for that town hall meeting. That's what I'm hearing you say. Because you are making us pay twice. We're paying for it on our yard waste bill today, on our sanitation bill, and we're paying for it tomorrow on our tax bill. And we're going to be paying for it based on the value of our property. We're all getting the same service, what, a 4x8 pile once a month or on pickup day. But we're paying different rates for the same pile.
All I can say is, I had no one come to my house and insist on curbside pickup. I probably had 25 or 30 phone calls in about a 3 or 4 week period that says, we don't want to do that. I had nobody come and tell me, yes, we want to do that. Even for your reasons or any other reasons, they did not want it. And believe me, I can remember people, if they were in favor of anything that we suggested doing. For 30 or 40 people here, I agree. The majority of them wanted us to do the curbside pickup. That's 30 or 40 people. I said between everybody up here, we probably had more calls than that, and more people see us on the streets that said they didn't want to do that. And 2 or 3 of these people, I distinctly remember, brought theirs to the curb anyway, but they still didn't want to have that as far as the rules and regulations go. So that's the encounter that I had with the local citizenry, and all of these people were people that live here. And
that was the 30 to 40 people?
No.
Because here's the thing, and here's what I've learned from sitting there for 4 years. When people are happy, you're not going to hear from them. They're not going to call and say, oh, thank you for letting me continue to take my trash can to the street. I've been doing it for years, I'll continue to do it. They're not going to call and tell you that they're happy for doing that. We can debate that all day, but basically what you guys are doing, I don't care if 30 people or 300 people ask for it. You're having us pay twice on our sanitation bill and now on our tax bill for the same service, and we're paying for it in not a fair and balanced way. We're paying for it based on the value of our property.
I'll make one final comment. The general fund pays for all city services exactly the same way, by taxing the citizens and taking the money and spending it for what it needs to be spent for. If you have a $500,000 house, you're going to pay more for police protection than you do if you have a $100,000 house. That's just as simple as it is. This is just another city service. I've given you adequate time.
Well, Mayor, it's not a city service. It was a solid waste service. It's always been an enterprise fund service, just like water, sewer, sanitation. It's always been based on a fee structure. Enterprise funds, utility services are not based on the value of your property. They're
So with what you're saying, then people who live in condos shouldn't pay anything at all.
They pay for yard service today. They pay for it with their sanitation bill. We all do.
Other comments?
One quick little problem is, I really didn't think that you would allow the management to permit a contract for this yard to be picked up before the council was allowed to vote for the millage rate increase to pay for it. But as I understand, the contract's already been put out for that service, but yet, you know, you all hadn't voted yet, and I would hope, you know, that most of you'd represent the majority of the people and deny this millage rate. Thank you.
Do you have the contract date when we got a contract with Garrison?
I don't think it's signed, is it?
It is not.
Not this contract, the original contract.
No, that one's signed.
The original, yes, sir. For
When?
us using, last year, 2015, for us using his property in the event we had to evacuate, something like that.
But this.
We've had a contract with Mr. Garrison for going on a year.
But this,
This is an additional thing we're asking him to do.
This is a new contract.
and this is a new contract that has not been signed, correct?
That's correct.
So if it's voted on, this contract has not been signed prior to our voting.
This contract, I'm asking because I don't know, can this contract be signed prior to October 1 when the budget would go into
It can be signed after the budget is adopted.
Thank you.
That's what Tom, you just said a while ago, the contractor was one that picked up all this yard trash there already, but yet, say the contract hadn't been let yet?
Two different contracts, sir. One old one and one new one.
Okay, I thought I saw the city trash truck with one man in it the other morning doing a heck of a good job. I'm really proud of our garbage crew, all 6 of them, and they do one heck of a job, and they work their advantage off for all of us. That's the reason I don't want to see you put them out of work for 3 days a week.
I don't think we're planning on doing that. And I think we all agree they work their tails off. They do a great job.
Does that mean my garbage fee is going down?
It could. Motion to adopt ordinance 646.
So I'll make the motion.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yeah,
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes?
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnell?
Yes. Ordinance 647. This is establishing the general fund. Motion to read ordinance 647 by title only.
So moved.
second.
Please read 647 by title only.
Ordinance 647, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the appropriation of funds and adoption of the budget for the tax year 2016-2017 for the purpose of providing funds for the ordinary and regular requirements of the City of Mexico Beach for the fiscal year 2016-2017, providing an effective date.
Any discussion? Motion to adopt ordinance 647. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So you were gonna explain what you're gonna do, how you're gonna fund, the sanitation employees, the 3 days every week in the off-season? How are you gonna, what are you gonna do, what are they gonna be doing, and how are you gonna fund that?
The sanitation workers get paid from the enterprise fund. So it's a problem for the public works director to use these people. They cannot be paid with sanitation funds if they're doing some other project. You agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's why I put that on the agenda tomorrow night to talk about where we can use these people and how they're going to be paid. But we cannot use sanitation funds for things that are not sanitation fund related.
Right, so the only place you can pay for that is general fund or another enterprise fund. If they're gonna be working in those funds, then their salaries and benefits, overtime,
That's
You're
correct.
getting ready to adopt a budget and having to accommodate it for those funds in either the general fund or the enterprise fund or any of the other funds. So where are you gonna get those funds from to pay them? I agree with you, you can't pay them out of the enterprise fund and have them working for Parks and Rec or anything else. So how are you gonna fund those salaries? You didn't put it in the general fund budget. But you're gonna adopt the budget before you have a decision on that, and know how you're gonna pay them.
Yes, but I will qualify that, yes. We don't know that one time a week garbage pickup is going to work yet. We have funded the sanitation department for a full schedule, just like they always have been for many years. We're going to try to save some money by going to a once-a-week pickup. We don't know that if that can happen or not. I'm not satisfied with the Public Works Director's list of what he would like them to do. So we are funding what we know we're going to do, and we are providing a backup plan in the sanitation fund to pick up trash twice a week like we've always done.
So the savings that you're gonna have in sanitation, when do the people get that back on their sanitation bill?
We can, as you know, we can modify that at any time if we're actually getting a savings.
So, but they're not doing sanitation functions, they're gonna have to be working out of some other fund, regardless of the list the Public Works Director gives you. You know it's gonna be a different fund, but you have no money in those funds to pay for it. But you're gonna adopt the budget without knowing where that money's gonna come from and how you're gonna fund it. Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what you're hearing.
Is that what you're saying?
That's not what I'm saying.
You say you know how you're gonna fund it? I'm not trying
We
to
are
be hard,
funding-
I'm not trying to understand it.
Our budget includes regular funding. It doesn't include special work outside of their areas of expertise.
It includes, the budget is set for what you set it at.
That's correct.
And unless it's a capital improvement project where you get funding from somewhere else, like grants or state appropriations, where would you get this money?
I don't have any more money to do anything outside of that at this time.
Let me try my question again. How are you going, where are you, and I'll just look at the other council members and maybe you guys can answer. How are you going to pay for the salary and wages of 6 sanitation employees 3 days a week in the off season? They're not working for sanitation, they're gonna be working on something else. How do you pay for that? How do you pay their salaries out of another fund you didn't budget from that fund?
Ms. Castro, I've answered your question. We are budgeting for full-service garbage. We are budgeting for full-service garbage. If we realize savings in that area, then the savings goes into the sanitation fund. If we cannot pay workers because we don't have the money in any other area, then they don't get to work in any other area if we don't have the funds.
So what would
That's
they
very
do?
clear in what I'm saying.
So what would they be doing in sanitation?
They may be doing nothing. That's for discussion tomorrow night. They may not be getting paid because we've taken part of their work away from them and put it in the general fund under roads and streets. That's the discussion for tomorrow. But this is a budget discussion to fund the normal, everyday operation of the city.
So you guys took money from sanitation, you moved those funds from sanitation over to roads and streets?
We have not.
Because I thought that's what you just said, you took the money from,
I didn't say that.
I'd say that.
I said we moved the work, not the money.
you moved the work, but not the money. From sanitation to roads and street?
We moved the work from sanitation department to roads and streets, and we're funding it through the general fund.
You're talking about the $94,000.
I am.
Right. That's not even on the sanitation bill, that's now on our property tax bill. Totally different issue. But, does anybody else, do you guys understand what I'm asking? You're gonna have all of these people that you can't charge them to sanitation, you don't have any sanitation work, so you're gonna be charging them to a different fund, but you haven't budgeted in that fund for those salary and wages and benefits. So you're gonna lay
That's not what I said.
We haven't talked.
I said again, we are funding the sanitation department for full roadside or full garbage pickup like we've always had in Mexico Beach. That's how we're funding it. Does our sanitation ordinance say that we're going to try to pick up one time a week starting the 1st of October? It does. But if it fails, we're already going to be funded. It is a good backup plan.
For sanitation.
Because if we have more garbage than we think, and we can't get it picked up, then we're going to revert back and change that ordinance once again for 2 pickups.
But what she was saying, and this is what I was hearing, if you go to if you have the once a week pickup and it works, and you have the 6 guys in sanitation, and they're only working 2 days a week, and you don't have money budgeted in other departments where you want them to work to pay for them, then you're cutting 6 full-time guys from 5 days a week to 2 days a week, because there's no money budgeted in the other departments to pay them.
It sounds that simple, but it's not. We have commercial pickup that goes 7 days a week. We have other things that they have to do within the sanitation department. But we certainly are not going to have to spend $10,000 in overtime that we budgeted the last 2 years in sanitation. We're certainly not going to have to spend that.
If I read, I think it was Phillips in the packet for the meeting tomorrow night, he estimated it's going to be about $30,000. If you've got to figure out where you're going to fund the salary and wages from for about $30,000 worth of work for sanitation, that they're not going to be doing it now in sanitation. But keep in mind that our sanitation bill is based on the ordinance, right? So how are you going to fund that $30,000 if it's successful? So it sounds like you've already determined that it's not going to be successful. You're going to put them in sanitation. You're going to continue with the 2-day-a-week pickup.
No, what I determined was our last attempt to change garbage pickup was a failure.
Oh, I agree that the outcome was a failure.
It was absolutely a
But
failure.
we.
And I'm not going to be caught short financially if it's a failure again.
Well, I know the condition the sanitation fund is in, and I understand, and what I heard the city clerk say in a budget meeting loud and clear not too long ago is you can't continue the backdoor service like you're doing it without raising the rates. You just can't do it. You can't continue to fund it. We all know that. So, anyways.
Okay. Motion to adopt ordinance 647.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Ordinance 648. Motion to read ordinance 648 by title only. This is the water ordinance.
So moved.
Second. Please read ordinance 648 by title only.
Ordinance number 648, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the appropriation of funds and adoption of the budget for fiscal year 2016-2017 for the purpose of providing funds for the water fund, providing an effective date.
This is the same rate as last year. Is it a penny's difference?
Yeah, a few cents.
2 cents. 2 cents difference than last year. Is there any discussion?
This is not the rate change, this is just the budget. The rate
This is
change
the
will come
budget.
later.
This is the water budget, yes. Motion to adopt 648, ordinance 648. Is there a second? Please call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnam?
Ordinance 649. This is the sewer ordinance. Motion to read ordinance 649 by title only.
So moved.
Is there a second? Please read ordinance 649 by title only.
Ordinance number 649, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the appropriation of funds and adoption of the budget for the fiscal year 2016-2017 for the purpose of providing funds for the sewer fund, providing an effective date.
Okay. Again, this is the ordinance for the fund itself, but the only change to the sewer rate is going to be the pass-through from Bay County, which is less than $1. Any other comments, questions about ordinance 649? Motion to adopt ordinance 649.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnell?
Yes. Ordinance 650. This is the sanitation ordinance. Motion to read ordinance 650 by title only.
So moved.
There's a second.
Yes.
Please read ordinance 650 by title only.
Ordinance 650, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, authorizing the appropriation of funds and adoption of the budget for the fiscal year 2016-2017 for the purpose of providing funds for the sanitation fund, providing an effective date.
Again, this is the ordinance. This is no increase in garbage pickup rates. Any other discussion about this ordinance?
Can we hear from some of the other council members on how they feel about it?
They can speak if they like.
Can you guys tell us your thoughts on it, how you feel about it?
No, I have nothing to say.
I'm sorry?
Said I have nothing to say about it.
None of you guys do? No comment, no concern, no?
I'm not.
Motion to adopt ordinance 650.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes.
Ms. Albrecht?
Yes.
Mayor Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Putnell?
Next item on the agenda is the first reading of ordinance 651. Motion to read ordinance 651 by title only. This is the rates for water and sewer.
So moved.
Second? Second. Please read ordinance 651 by title only.
Ordinance 651, an ordinance amending ordinance number 625, adjusting the current rates to be charged for the use of the municipal water sewer system for service inside and outside the city limits of Mexico Beach, allowing for a senior center discount and vacant lot rates, repealing ordinances and or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance and providing an effective date. This is the first time you guys will have seen this. If you have the ordinance with you, I'll get to the right page. The water increase is 3 cents per thousand, so it's 12 cents per base bill. The sewer rate change is 8 cents per thousand, which is the county's increase, so that brings it to 32 cents per bill. And also the biggest thing I want you to bring your eyes to, and our crowd's gonna love it, is section 7, disconnects. This is a new addition. Any customer that wishes to turn off water and sewer service will still be required to pay the base monthly rate for water, sewer, and utility taxes. This will also be applied to vacant homes. If a customer disconnects service, they will also be charged a reconnect fee on top of the monthly service when the service is reconnected. This closes that loophole we've talked about previously where people can call and shut off their service at parts of the year and then turn it back on. This allows you to shut your water off, but you're still going to pay a base bill.
It's not usually customary, but does anyone have any questions about this? This was talked about at several meetings in detail.
The base rate we already have, I just closed it. 0 to 4,000 gallons of water is $35.81. 0 to 4,000 gallons of sewer is $45.21. So it's the same base rate for everything.
And that excludes, of course, it excludes vacant lots.
commercial's change is going to be, the base rate for a commercial account is 54.10 on water and 45.21 on sewer.
Okay. Any other questions? Item number 7 on the agenda, ordinance 652. This has to do with the 5-year plan of capital improvements, City of Mexico Beach. Does anybody have a question about the capital plan? Mr. Smigilski developed it. But again, this is a first reading. It'll be on 2 agendas after this date. Motion to read 652 by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Please read ordinance 652 by title only.
Ordinance number 652, an ordinance adopting a 5-year schedule of capital improvements for the City of Mexico Beach, providing for conflict with other ordinances, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
Is there any further business to bring before the council? Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Thank you for coming. He's got to print this out of something bigger.
You're not as old as I am, so.
This is too, I can't even read what the things are.
Did you get any more requests for copies of things?
What's that?